Hey, internet world. It is 10 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, April 23rd. At least 10 o'clock in the morning here. And I decided I wanted to get on this week and talk to you guys more about shocking amigurumi design. Amazing, right? Look, isn't this so fun? My amigurumi shirt. It's the definition shirt, the classic definition shirt. But the final definition is literally making friends. So I think that's funny. But yeah, so I want to talk more about Ami design. And it's interesting because this last week I had a live event with my next level students. And one of the things that one of my students and I got talking about was confidence. And it brought up something interesting. I get asked fairly well, so let's backtrack. I get asked fairly often when I show people my work, I get asked or I get told, like I could never do that. I could never make something like that. And that's not true. It just isn't. If you're a crochet designer, if you've started crocheting, if this is something that you even considered, then you're good enough to be doing this. And I know that sounds like craziness because some of these things are ridiculously complicated. But I'm going to tell you that, when somebody comes up to me and asks, how did you learn how to do this? How did you ever figure out how to do this? Or who taught you how to do this? And I go, well, nobody taught me. I experimented a lot. But what I've discovered through all the experimentation is that all that amigurumi design is, all that all crochet design is assembling a whole bunch of smaller techniques that we already know how to do. So if you know how to single crochet, you're off to a good start. If you can single crochet in the round, then you can make something like this. If you can single crochet in the round and make increases and decreases, then you've got a whole other group of shapes that you can now do. So what I figured out is there's only so many shapes, there's only so many types of shapes, there's only so many things that you need in order to make a crocheted tube, which is what you would need for amigurumi, do what you wanted to do. And so I started like writing these things down. So I was like, okay, well, I need this, piece. And it's kind of like having the numbers 1 through 10, but I needed to make a math equation, right? So this one I'm going to need 1, 2, and 3, and this one I'm going to need 6 and 7. And then, by the time I get to the end and I add them all together, I get, a Vincent. So I started, making myself samples of all of the individual pieces that are over here and all of each of the individual techniques that I realized I needed to design something. So what my course is actually all about is how to make all of those little things, how to learn how to build your number line, how to build your library of tools, so that you have all of the tools needed to make whatever it is that's in your head. So when I show somebody Vincent and then they come back to me and say, oh, I could never make something like that. That's way too complicated. I could never design something like that. And I go, yeah, you can. Because if you can do a single crochet and an increase, and can you turn your work? Yeah, great. You're off to a great start. Let's start curving tubes now too. You can do whatever you want. You just have to take the little pieces and know how to put them together to do something even more incredible with them. So that's what I like to teach people is that, you have these skills. This is there. If you can crochet, you're really, you're off to the races to be able to make whatever you can imagine out of yarn. You just need to know, need to have the tools to put it all together in a way that makes sense so that you can assemble something in 3 dimensions. I know that sounds extremely simplified, and it kind of is, but that conversation led us to talking about confidence. And she was saying that it's hard to be confident when she's never done this before. And I was like, well, yeah, because confidence is born out of the knowledge that you can do it. So to some extent, there's no reason anybody should be confident that they can do something that they've never done before. Instead, you break down the confidence part and break it down into, I am confident I can make a single crochet ball. I am confident I can make a single crochet tube. I am confident I can make a single crochet cone. And now, what else do I need to learn? Okay, well, now I need to learn how to curve things. I've got that lesson there. Now I need to learn how to curve things slowly so that I can make them, into a spiral. I've got that lesson there. Now I need to learn how to reverse curves like an S curve. I've got that lesson there too. So you go through and you just add up each of the little things that you can then be confident about. And before you know it, you're confident you can build a dragon or a wolf or a sloth or a tap dancing elephant. So you really do have all the skills. You just don't, when you look at them in a big picture, it looks a lot scarier than if you break it down and realize, oh, I can do this. I can do this in little pieces. I just need somebody to guide me through the little pieces. That's what I want to do. So, but anyway, it was an interesting conversation about confidence. It also brought up a really great quote that I absolutely love, by a Star Wars actress. Shocker, I know. But the quote is from Carrie Fisher, and she talks about confidence, and the whole quote involves something to the effect of, you can't be confident if you've never done something. And the middle quote that everybody always uses is, be afraid, but do it anyway. And then the rest of that is, be afraid, but do it anyway. The confidence will follow. And so you can't be confident about something you've never done, but you can be scared, do it anyway, and then realize you did it and be confident coming out the other side. I love this quote. It is all over my house. It is all over my computer screens. It's on pieces of paper on my walls, because sometimes you do have to do things scared. I have to sit here in front of you guys a little bit scared, if you haven't noticed. But as I do it more and more, I get more and more confident. So, yeah. Glad to see some people showing up. Barb, nice to see you, dear. Joy, I'm going to say, is here. I don't want to, maybe C is first name. I don't know, but we'll just call you Joy. But yeah, so this is really fun. If anybody's got questions about Ami design, I would love to talk about it. I can ramble on for hours about it. I'm getting ready to do a really cool, really fun webinar on Friday. That's going to be a blast. It's called how to design a star amigurumi pattern, STAR. And STAR is an acronym that I've kind of created that reminds me what tests my amigurumi patterns need to pass in order to sell, in order to be a good pattern that people actually want. Yay, Kara says she's looking forward to the webinar. That's awesome. It's going to be a blast. It's a really good one. I've done it for a summit before. I've done it in a few places that I even did it live once, which was really fun. But it really helps people break down what they want to design and how they design it in a way that you can kind of predict whether or not something's going to be successful, which is really handy. I mean, let's face it, we all need to predict, like we don't want to sit there and make something and it just be like, oh boy, I hope this doesn't suck. Publish. And sometimes that's what you do. Sometimes you just, hope and pray. But there are some things you can do to encourage people to enjoy your pieces and encourage your piece to, be its best. Yeah, Crystal says, managed to catch you during a live. Yes, I know there is a lot of stuff pirated right now. I appreciate everybody. Here's the link to the webinar. It's all right, Crystal, don't worry about it. I have found them. Once a month or so, I go through Amazon and report all of the pirated patterns, mostly Vincent's. And then recently there've been a couple on Temu. Temu's been actually really good about taking them down. So that's been really nice and somewhat rare. And then I occasionally have to go through Etsy too. It's part of the industry. It sucks. It's the lousy part of the industry that there are people out there trying to make a quick buck off of somebody else's work. But it happens. I mean, I know I know I sound a little bit flippant about it. And I don't mean to sound flippant about it. I have realized that it is a lot of stress that I don't need. And so I tend to I take, maybe an hour a month and I go through and search the usual places and I have the infringement stuff bookmarked and I just send it off. And then I try to forget about it again for another month because my people are good people and they're looking for my stuff in the right places. And I am also doing my best as a designer and as a member of the crochet community to inform people about where is a safe place to buy patterns? How can I vet this pattern before I buy it to make sure I'm getting it from the designer? And, there's two factors involved here. I mean, you might be able to find one of my patterns on Temu in a really crappy, cheap kit. But here's the deal. They took the free pattern, so it has no pictures. It has no support from me. It has no checkboxes for sure, but it has none of the traits of my premium patterns. It is a knockoff. Often they are missing huge chunks of the patterns. So you are getting a sub-quality product and you are losing your contact to the designer. You don't get me. You don't have access to me to be able to come to me and say, like, help, I need to work on this. Because when you email the person you bought it from, they probably don't even exist. They're probably a fake human being. So you're going to end up with a lot of trouble if you don't buy patterns from the credited sources. It does kind of mean you've made it and your patterns are memorable enough that I recognize it right away. Thank you, Crystal. I do appreciate it. I have had a ton of emails and messages this week, for some reason, has been bigger about Amazon stuff and about Temu stuff being reported. And I really appreciate that. Like, even if you think, oh, she's totally seen this by now, go ahead and shoot me an email because that's how I find them. I didn't even know the Temu stuff was happening. So that's how I find them. If you find, and this goes for every designer ever, okay? If you find their work somewhere where it doesn't belong, let them know because that's how we find it. That's how we go in and try to do something about it. The hard part is a lot of new designers end up using that getting stolen from, that copyright infringement as their excuse to stop their business, their excuse to close their business. And I don't mean to, I do and I don't mean to use the word excuse. Somebody who is just waiting for something to go wrong and is just waiting for that first copyright infringement notice to be like, well, that's it. I'm quitting my business because it's just not worth it. I'm just going to get stolen from. They wanted to quit anyway. They were ready. That was not the direction they wanted to go. The people that are willing to push through it, both by reporting things and then also by realizing, your real customers, they come to you. They're coming to the right places. And it is kind of your job to make sure that your customers can find you easier than they can find the knockoff. So you need to make it easier and more powerful and more empowering for your customers to find you through you than it is to have to go searching around on all these foreign free sites and find you there. It should be easy to find you otherwise. So some of it is, that's a challenge. That's hard. Trying to rank in SEO higher than Temu. That's hard. But it's possible. It's reasonable. And it is definitely something that, we all need to push for rather than just getting mad and giving up. Don't give up. Don't give up. Just don't. I mean, I can't force you to not give up. I want to. I would love to be able to crawl through the screen and give everybody a hug when things start to go wrong. I know that's unrealistic. I can be here. If you want to leave a comment, I can give you a hug. but it happens. It just does. And so my method for dealing with it is to take an hour a month to deal with it, and then otherwise put my effort into making my stuff seen in places that it needs to be seen, um, and making sure my customers find it there. So, yeah. So that's a fun copyright infringement conversation, but yeah. This is not an easy job. There's another one right for you. If you were looking for an easy job, if you were looking for I want to crochet all day and get paid for it job, design isn't that. I crochet on a good day. I get maybe an hour to 2 hours of actual crocheting done. I probably spend 3 hours a day, maybe 4 hours a day on marketing, which means social media, blog posts, making YouTube videos, editing YouTube videos, all that kind of stuff. And then probably another 2 hours a day doing content creation, which is making said videos and taking pictures and all that kind of stuff. So it isn't crocheting all day. I'm sorry. That would be awesome though. I guess maybe if you get a Twitch channel going and people just really love to watch you crochet, then maybe you can just crochet all day and get paid for it. I think your hands might fall off eventually, but go for it. But I've found that design is, about 70-30 behind the scenes work and then actual crocheting. So, but I love it. I love my job. I mean, it's great. I get to talk to you guys. I get to help other designers that are like, I have this idea. I have this really great idea for a chipmunk, and I cannot get the tail right. And I go, ooh, okay, let's sit down and figure this out. Let's, either get on a live together one-on-one. I do that with my students. So they have the ability to get a hold of me and say like, hey, I want some of your time here. Please schedule me in and we can work through some stuff. You can get into the Next Level Facebook group if you're a student also, and people work through stuff in there. They'll be like, here's a inspiration image I'm working on. I can't get this part to work. Any recommendations from my fellow designers? And we work through stuff that way. So it is possible. It is there. I mean, Amigurumi is amazing. Amigurumi is probably one of the only crochet art forms, crochet niches, where you can literally make anything you want. Anything. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could probably make a working bottle, like a working little air rocket thing. Like, remember when we made in middle school? I don't think they still do that. But you can make anything you can imagine in 3 dimensions out of yarn. Now, will it be functional? I mean, you probably can't make a water bottle that actually holds water, but you could make a water bottle and it would be really cool looking. And maybe you could even paint it to look like it's actually holding water. The actual potential is unending. It's what's the word? Infinite. Yes, the potential for amigurumi is infinite. And that's what makes it so much fun. And also what makes people need your ideas. Because if the pool of possibility is infinite, that means the pool of ideas is also infinite. We talk about, I regularly talk about trying to avoid making balls with legs. I mean, I make some balls with legs, don't get me wrong. My roly-poly guys are pretty much that. But there are so many of those out there. There are so many teddy bears that are shaped like a teddy bear with feet sticking out on the floor, arms flat down on their sides, head facing forward, sitting on their bum. That is the standard. That's what we're all used to seeing. And so why make that when there's unending possibility? Why not make a teddy bear that's standing on one leg? Or why not make a teddy bear that is mid somersault? Maybe his face like shows between his feet because he's in the middle of doing a somersault. There's 100 different ways to make any creature. So why not make it incredibly unique? Why not make it like super, super fun? And why not make it something that people can find? It's like Crystal was saying, she said my patterns are memorable enough that she recognized it right away. That's awesome. And that's what we're all going for as designers. We want to be able to post something and people be like, oh, I think that's a new Hook by Katie pattern. And it is. Hooray. That's what we're all going for, right? Is being able to be recognized, having a brand that speaks to people and that we can back up. So yes. Anyway, where else were we going? If anybody's got questions, I'm all for it. I love talking about design. I love talking about stuffed animals, period. I have, let's do a little sneak peeky thing. How about that? I have this fella. Okay, so I think we talked about this one before. This is going to be a little Pegasus, finally, right? And here are my front feet. Boy, this is really bright and like shiny. There's a lot of light behind me today. Yay! Okay, so these are the front legs. Back legs are going to be very similar, maybe a slightly bigger thigh, It's got to look like a bum. And that one I'm working on. I'm really excited. My 2 hours of crochet time today will probably be on Pegasus. So that'll be really fun. Crystal says, did you ever do in-person markets? And if so, what was that like? I did, actually. That's how I started my business. I started out crocheting for craft fairs. And I mean, I started out, I had no niche. So I sold scarves. I sold fingerless gloves. I sold stuffed Pokeballs, which is a huge no-no. Don't sell trademark stuff. I sold a couple of hats. I had a custom order for 68 or 70 of those little chair feet covers. And that was the most exhausting project I ever did, making like maybe it was 80 of the exact same little chair feet covers. So I did that whole, thing. It's fun. I really enjoyed it. Once I niched down to Amigurumi, which happened over the course of probably 2 or 3 years of doing craft fairs, realizing I had more fun when people came into the booth and said, oh my gosh, look at the puppy, and picked something up or whatever. That I wanted to do more stuffed animals, and I wanted to narrow down to just stuffed animals. And so making stuffed animals for craft fairs is exhausting. And depending on the craft fairs you go to, they are hard to be competitive in terms of prices. You need to make sure you are at art fairs, which means your stuffed animals are probably not being bought by children that are going to play with them. They are being bought by geeks who are buying them for memorabilia purposes. They are being bought by people who are into soft sculpture and want to just set it on a shelf and look at it. They're bought by grandmas looking for heirloom pieces for for upcoming grandkid nurseries. And so the prices can be a little higher, but you're still going to have a hard time matching the amount of hours it takes to make something like Anduin here with the price you're going to get for him. Yeah, Crystal, we can chat about it a little bit. Jump into the Facebook group if you're not there. And that's another great place to get information, is that it's called Epic Amigurumi Patterns and Crochet Quests is my Facebook group. We have a lot of fun in there, and that's a good place to ask for some stuff. Pricing questions is a little harder. I don't know if I'm going to be able to help you there. I am going to tell you, try to have a range. So, try to have some stuff that you can put in baskets or buckets or something that is somewhat small. Hacky sacks are great if you're an Ami person, if you're an Ami designer. Hacky sacks are awesome. Something small like guinea corns. Guinea corns sell like hotcakes. I have no idea what it is about them, but I would make 2 dozen guinea corns and sell out on the first day pretty much every time. and then make sure you have middle of the road stuff, and then have 2 to 3 like over $100 big pieces that are something that people are just like, wow, that's amazing. And if nothing else, they draw people in. That, drawing people in is important. So that's as much as pricing information as I can, because some of it depends on the part of country you're in and what kind of a fair it is. Is it an art fair, or is it like a church craft fair? Like, that's gonna be, shakier there. So, so why do I not do craft fairs anymore? Well, I could only crochet for so many hours a day. I hope that's helpful, Crystal. I could only crochet for so many hours a day. At the time, I had little kids, so I would put my 2 school-age little bitty kids, like, I think my last year of doing craft fairs, they were maybe 7, oh gosh, 9 and 6. So I would put them to bed at night, and then I would pour myself a cup of coffee, and I would crochet until 1 a.m. And then I would get up with them, take them to school, go home, sleep for 2 hours because I was sleep deprived, and then, do the whole thing again. So it was definitely, yes, pattern sales is a much better ROI in terms of scalability. That is the perfect one sentence way to do it. Pattern sales is a much better ROI in crochet in terms of scalability. The amount of time you put into a crochet pattern comes back to you long term, which is really awesome. So I made 24 guinea corns for a craft fair and sold them all, and I got a lump sum of money and it stopped. But guinea corn's pattern is out there on the internet, progressively making money every day ever since it was published. That was not a lump sum. That is just continuous, and that has piled on top of every other design. So it does, it snowballs a little bit nicer, with the same amount of work. So you don't have to like massively increase the hours you put in. You can get back more for your time slowly over time. It's like getting a raise, like a steady couple of cents every couple months raise. And then after you've been doing this for 10 years, you're like, woohoo! So yeah. It is, you can skyrocket that, obviously, if you have a star pattern that really hits really well and sells really well and gets a lot of attention and maybe even goes viral on social media. All of a sudden you're doing really great, and then that continues to, even if it dips off, that continues to make you money and give you attention and give you what you need. So that's really, really great about pattern design. I really enjoy pattern design. I can't imagine myself doing anything else. Being a creative is hard, and trying to make a business out of being a creative is a little harder. They are not they do not pair well together. A business-minded person is kind of over here, and a creative-minded person is kind of over here, playing with a needle like I am. And they don't always mesh. There are days when they really don't mesh, but they can go together. You have to find your balance, and you have to be making something you really enjoy and really love and really believe in. That's why I like stuffed animals. I really believe in them. I believe in the art form. I believe in that infinite potential for amigurumi. I think that it can open up so many doors for designers that it's just it's just sneeze. Ugh, sorry. I am so embarrassed that happened, but forgive me. Yeah, so get into amigurumi if you're not already. If you're not already, I'm not 100% sure what you're doing here. I don't make much else. I have just gotten into a world where I actually make a flat thing now and then. My current thing is wings. In fact, I'm pretty sure I will not have time to do it before this store opening on Next Level. But in the next several months, I am going to add in a course on short rounds flat. So we have a lot of talk in the course about using short rounds to make things curve, using short rounds to make things twist. But I want to talk about short rounds making things flat. And it's one of those things where a lot of blanket makers and things use this fairly regularly. The idea that you make something back and forth and it's got a diagonal line kind of coming up the stairs. And then when you work it even, and now you have a triangle. I learned a lot about that making wings recently for my dragon wing pillow that I have. Matches this dragon claw pillow over here. And the trigonometry required was really fun. Gotta love some math, right? Amigurumi math, if you will. And the trigonometry led me to go, oh, this is something that I think my students would really appreciate, because you can take, I need the wings to be this long and I need them to be this tall and I need them to have 3 segments like dragon wings. And so how do I do the math? How many stitches is that going to be long? How many rows am I going to be doing? And you can do the math. You don't have to just test and tear and hope and pray. It is possible to plan that in advance. And I actually did an entire set of wings and sent them to my tester before I even started them. And I did get the math wrong one time, and I actually had to double a number that I didn't realize I would need to double, but I figured it out. So there's a test and tear-ish thing that now I've done for you, and you will never have to do again as long as I can get this lesson out for you. But yeah, so triangles are yet another thing you can do the math for, have written ahead of time, and then not have to test and tear. Test and tear is the bane of every crochet designer's existence. And it's extra bad with amigurumi, because a lot of times we have no idea how big we want something or how big it's going to turn out when we start working with it. Or how much of a twist am I going to get here? Is this tail going to curve as much as I want it to? And they get halfway through it and go, nope, and just rip it back out again and keep going. So to avoid the test and tear, you have to make a bunch of samples, know what tools you have, and then do the math in advance and know how to plan out your pattern so that you've got all your math done that tells you what size things are going to be, that tells you what curve angle things are going to be at. You can do it all ahead. And I figured that out, and I've taught you how to do it. I can teach you how to do all of that ahead of time so that it's a lot less painful. Like one of the things, for example, one of the things we make is a whole bunch of spheres. And I know that sounds really boring, but these are probably the most important thing I have sample-wise. We make these cute little tags for them. This one says 48 stitches around. And this is my 48 stitch around ball in my most commonly used yarn, in my most commonly used hook. So if I know I want a head to, like if I'm sitting there going, I want his head to be about that big. I go through my balls, here's 30 stitches, here's 48. And I have them all the way up to 54. And I pull them out and I go, well, this one, that's about how big around I want it. So I know the biggest point in this guy's head is going to be 48 stitches around. Sweet. So then I can be like, well, his nose needs to be about this big. So his nose is going to be 30 stitches around. And now I know that I need, I only want 2 inches between the biggest point, or the biggest part of his head and the biggest part of his nose. So what's 2 inches in my typical gauge? For me, that's 8 rounds. So I know I need to get from 48 stitches to 30 stitches over the course of only 8 rounds. Do the math, and there we go. That's how you would slowly grade that piece. So you can do it all. You really can do it all ahead of time. And I love helping people do it because it takes a lot of the yuck and the pain and the wasted yarn out of Ami Design. And we all need to save a little yarn, right? So, all right. Well, we are, You Wish You Knew. Oh my gosh, that's like the greatest Facebook name ever. Love it. I started your dragon eye pillow and I love it. I'm glad to hear that. It's a really fun one. I'm actually in the process of making another one right now. And I think I may try to do a video for that one. I don't know. Bear with me on that. Long videos are really hard. So, but yeah, so oh my gosh, I'm glad you're enjoying it. But so we are at 35 minutes and I am going to let you guys go so I can get back to, oh boy, back to the designing, back to the Pegasus here, and back to prepping our webinar for Friday. So hopefully I get to see you guys. There's a link in the description to register. There's also a comment that has the registration link in it. And I hope I get to see you guys there. It's going to be great. It's going to be a great way to audit your old patterns and say, okay, here's what I can tweak to make them a star pattern, but then also say I can make star patterns from the get-go, and, you know, really push my business forward this summer. So I will see you all Friday. Take care. Bye.